So welcome to the Maple Grove City Council Mayoral Candidate Forum, to be followed by the Minnesota House District 34A and 34B Candidate Forum. I am Joe Paquette, and I'm representing the North Hennepin Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to thank you for your attendance this evening. The North Hennepin Area Chamber and the League of Women Voters of Brooklyn Park, Osseo, Maple Grove are co-sponsoring this candidate forum to encourage voter interest in the upcoming election on November 4th. Neither organization endorses any of the candidates for office. We'd like to thank the City of Maple Grove for use of their facility for this forum and the Northwest Community Television for their support in televising this event live and for their scheduling of the cablecast replays. It is now my pleasure to introduce President Eleanor Johnson, representing the League of Women Voters for our area. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome to the forum this evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber and Channel 12 for taping tonight's forum. Candidate forums are an excellent way for the community to get to know the individuals running for office. It also provides an open venue to allow individuals to ask candidate questions that are important to you. Our moderator will be happy to answer your questions if they are written legibly and meet the following criteria. The question has not already been asked, and it is not a personal attack on any of the candidates running for office. If you would like to submit a question, please raise your hand and someone will bring you a card and a pen. And please submit your questions early so that the moderator may ask them before the closing statements are made. If you would like to have a reminder of voting, if you fill out the bottom of this, someone will call you and remind you. Of course, you can already begin voting. Voting started last Friday. But if you would like to be reminded to vote on November 4th, fill out this form and you will be given a call. Now I'd like to introduce Linda Freeman, who is a member of our league and lives in Brooklyn Park.
Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I would like to welcome you to tonight's candidate forum. The League of Women Voters is an organization that is nonpartisan and volunteer-based. It is organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While the LWV members do study and take stands on issues, we do not endorse or support political parties or candidates. The LWV does encourage its members as individuals, as we encourage each of you to get involved in your community and the political party of your choice. However, the views expressed in this forum are those of the individual candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters. By sponsoring tonight's forum, the League provides an opportunity for citizen participation and exposure to candidates, but does not provide an endorsement of any candidate or candidates. All viable candidates have been invited to participate this evening. Tonight's forum will be for the Maple Grove City Council and mayoral candidates. In tonight's forum, the candidates will start with 6 of the 7 questions they received in advance, in which they have 1 minute to respond. Then our candidates will have up to 30 seconds to respond to each of the questions submitted from the audience. Finally, they will be given 1 minute for the last question that is their final statements. Candidates, the League would like to request that you refrain from making any personal attacks on your fellow candidates. I'd like to take this moment to point out our timekeepers for this evening. They will show you when you have 15 seconds to finish your statements. Then they will show you when your time is expired. Please finish your sentence at that time, as I will be directing the next speaker's turn. The order has been randomly selected. If at any time I accidentally skip anybody, please feel free to get my attention and let me know, and I will make sure you have equal opportunity to answer the question. For the audience, please remember to turn off all communication devices at this time. There will be no photography for the duration of the forum. I'd like to announce the candidates. Tonight we have, and it may not be in the order that you're sitting, we have Sherry Marie Johnson, Tyler Annette, Mark Stephenson, Karen Jager, Phil Leith, and Adam Bedard. Is that correct? Okay. So we will start with the first question in just a random order. Would you repeat the amount of time, please? So for the very first question, for their introduction, they will have 1 minute to respond. Then the subsequent questions, 30 seconds. Then for the final answer, it'll be back to 1 minute again. Okay. The first question will go to Ms. Johnson. Please tell us about your background and previous city involvement that support your candidacy for this position.
Okay, thank you. Do you hear me? Okay, thank you. My previous background is I have a strong interest in political science and in public administration. I graduated from the University of Minnesota, and I'd like to put my political science degree to use. And I've been a legislative assistant for former Representative Betty Folliard, and I have worked on campaigns, and I have run for state office. I run for state representative in 2000, and I'm just genuinely interested in serving the public and working in that realm. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will go to, or the same question will go to Mr. Annette.
Thank you. Yes, hello, my name is Tyler Annette, and I've lived in Maple Grove for over 30 years. I've got a wife and 2 beautiful children, and I am a local attorney with a private law practice. I've also practiced in the public sector as well as the private sector with the county attorney's office. And while I haven't served on the council previously in my capacity with the county attorney's office and in private practice, I've worked with townships, counties, school boards, all the way up to the federal jurisdictions. So I've seen how things work on different levels, how different jurisdictions will do it. And I think I can kind of be able to take what worked and try to put that forward, look at what didn't work, and try to avoid some of those pitfalls that I've experienced. While at the county's attorney's office, I was able to work again with zoning, ordinance, code and ordinance enforcement. And again, as a 30-plus year resident, I'm vested in Maple Grove, and all these things support my candidacy.
Thank you. Mr. Stevenson?
Thank you. I'm Mark Stephenson. I'm the current mayor of Maple Grove. I've been the mayor for the last 14 years, and prior to that, I was on the council for about 5 years. I've been actively involved in this community since moving here in 1987. My wife and my daughter are actively involved in the community as well in a number of different activities. Over the years, I've served on a number of different boards in this community. I've been actively involved in a number of the youth athletic clubs within the community, and I continue to be actively involved in those organizations. It's been my pleasure to be the mayor. I look forward to serving again. I'm also an attorney in this community. I've been an attorney in this community for a number of years with the firm of Henningsen and Snoxel. I'm an AV-rated lawyer. I've been a super lawyer a number of different times, and I'll continue to serve the citizens of Maple Grove to the best of my ability and to do the best for our community.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
I have lived in Maple Grove for 25 years. I grew up in Minneapolis and attended Minneapolis schools. I have been married for 57 years, have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. My husband and I owned a business for 37 years in Minneapolis, so my position was vice president treasurer, so therefore I feel I'm versed in administrative issues. I am a graduate of the First Citizens Police Academy, currently liaison to the Lake Quality, Park and Rec, commissioner of the Shingle Creek and West Mississippi Watershed, trustee on the 279 Foundation, and I'm also active in support of the DARE program by attending all the graduations in 15 years. And also, I have never missed a city council meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Leith?
Hi, my name is Phil Leith. I'm a 27-year Maple Grove resident and homeowner. My wife Beth and I have 2 sons, Eric and Thane, who are in college. I'm a small business owner of a chemical sales agency headquartered here in Maple Grove. It's been an honor and a privilege to have served the last 8 years on the Maple Grove City Council after being elected in 2006. Prior to that, I held leadership positions on the Maple Grove Planning Commission and the Citizens Long Range Improvement Committee. I served on the Maple Grove Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, and I represented the Maple Grove area on the Hennepin County Capital Budgeting Task Force. I'm an active member and past president of the Maple Grove Lions Club and an active member and volunteer at Lord of Life Lutheran Church. I think you need to be involved in the community to really know what is going on and what's on the residents' mind and demonstrate your leadership capabilities. These civic and faith leadership roles definitely support my candidacy for this position.
Thank you. Mr. Bedard?
My name is Adam Bedard. I'm a licensed corporate agent at Prudential out of Plymouth, Minnesota currently. I have been in the financial and investment industry for a number of years, which has given me strength when it comes to budgeting city budgets, as well as ensuring that taxpayers' dollars are invested responsibly in different projects. My MBA is in finance. I'm also a former city council member near the Brainerd Lakes area in a community called Cuyuna, Minnesota, where I've had the opportunity to work in depth with planning and zoning and state legislatures to assume that we can obtain funding such as grants from them. I've also been able to be involved in multi-community projects, including neighbors up in that area, to develop things such as mountain bike trails that has led to the recognition of the International Mountain Biking Association.
Thank you. Question number 2, and we'll start with you again, Mr. Bedard. What do you see as the strengths of Maple Grove? How would you characterize the mood of the city's residents today?
Just yesterday, actually, I'm not sure if anybody saw it, but on MSN, we were ranked number 2 in the nation of the greatest place to work and live, which Michelin, Texas, coming in first. So something certainly we can all be proud of, and I understand why that, you know, they certainly ranked us high up there. We are in an area that we can work and live in the same community. We have outdoor recreational opportunities, such as our bike paths and lakes in the area. Not only that, but we have a large area for shopping and eateries that are beneficial not only to the citizens here, but draw people in from other communities, which benefits the area as a whole.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I would continue to work toward a clean, safe community that has job opportunities. And I've lived here with my family most of my adult life, and it's been a good city to live in. And it's a beautiful city. There's a lot of concerts in the park in the summer, and the property values are stable. So that's nice too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yes, I think really 2 parts to the question, and the first part obviously being what are the strengths of the community. And really I feel that, you know, especially being here for 30 plus years, is the people. Looking back at the older pockets of the communities, whether it be on the east or west side of Fish Lake, Boundary Creek, surrounding Weaver Lake, what have you, I think it's those people that made Maple Grove the desirable place it is to live now, for businesses to locate and so forth. So I think that's a huge strength for Maple Grove, is the people that live here and make this community home. Quality of life obviously goes with that. The foresight of previous mayors, such as Mayor Dean, with the parks and rec and great trails and so forth that we have today. So I think those are the strengths, along with the quality of life component. As far as the mood goes, when I'm out visiting people and knocking on some doors, some of those people in the older neighborhoods feel like they're kind of left behind for some of the newer development, and focuses solely on those issues. An example being the northeast corridor of Maple Grove. So I think that's the mood of the citizens right now.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
Maple Grove, I think, is a great community, and I think that the most recent Money Magazine evaluation is that we're the second best place to live in America, goes to that point. We have great parks, we have a great staff here in the city, and we continue to have a great involvement of our citizens in our community, and that's what makes us a great place to live. I really think it's important that we continue to grow our jobs. We have done that. It continues to be a great strength of our community. We have great med tech jobs that continue to grow and expand, and we should be proud of the businesses that we've brought to this community over the last 10, 15 years. Significant companies like Upshur Smith, Boston Scientific, Great River Energy. They've all brought great and wonderful new jobs to our community, and those types of jobs is how this community will continue to grow and get better. We'll continue to show people why we really are the best place to live in America.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
Most of our strengths come from guiding our city in a forward direction. Just this week, Money Magazine voted Maple Grove number 2 as the best city to live in the United States. This includes our jobs, housing, schools, parks, lakes, trails, police, and fire. As I have always said, Maple Grove is a great city to live, work, and play. At our national night out this year, all I heard was, what a beautiful city, what a well-run city, and I'm so happy to live here, and thanks to all within the city.
Thank you. And Mr. Leaf?
Well, Maple Grove has many strengths, which start with our residents, our fine city staff. We have an excellent financial position with a AAA bond rating, which has saved us a lot of money and interest over the years. Our low crime rate, many senior activities, our parks, trails, lakes, and other amenities like the town green. All of this was a big part, as you've heard, of Maple Grove being ranked the #2 city in America to live in. When they did this, they looked at over 50 factors, which also included numerous recreational opportunities, our job market, and our economy. I think the mood is very positive. As the 2013 survey showed, 96% of the residents gave Maple Grove high marks for having a good quality of life and a clean, safe place to live, work, and raise your family in. I hear the same thing from residents when I'm out in the community at National Night Out. They're all very happy to be living here, so I would definitely say the mood is very positive.
Thank you. And question number 3, we'll start with you again, Mr. Leith. What would you like to change or see done differently, and what are your top 3 priorities if elected?
Well, overall, I don't think there's much I would like to see it done differently. Our residents are satisfied, and Money Magazine, I guess in an independent audit, you could say, just confirmed how well things are going here. My top 3 priorities, if reelected, would be first, to keep the budget in line with tough spending decisions as the city continues to grow while maintaining the high level of service our residents have come to expect. Secondly, we must make good growth choices now for the remaining undeveloped lands and the redevelopment projects by considering the density, how well it fits the comprehensive plan, and traffic flow. Also, for the gravel mining area, I think it's time to focus on bringing in more businesses, corporate campuses, office buildings, which will add jobs, contribute to the tax base, and complement all the retail and other surrounding amenities we have. And finally, thirdly, we must completely finish Highway 610, as that will be a huge benefit for traffic flow and help to spur the growth of the Northwest sector.
Thank you. Mr. Bedard.
My top 3 priorities would be to look at ways to mitigate large tax increases moving forward as we continue to grow as a community. Part of that means educating the citizens of the community of the pros and cons in doing so as they vote on that. Also looking at ways to improve our lake quality that we have here currently, leveraging the strengths of experts such as the DNR to help mitigate the different pollutants. And a lot of residents of Maple Grove currently either choose to filter their water or buy bottled water due to the poor quality tap water in the area. So I think it's a good idea to currently look at the filtration system we have here, what improvements need to be made, and if there are improvements that need to be made, ensure that we're looking at all the options responsibly to ensure that taxpayers' dollars are invested most efficiently.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. Yeah, my top priorities would be, most importantly to me, would be to be responsive to the residents in the community. And I would do my homework. I certainly would do my research on all the topics that would come before us and, or before myself and everyone, but, and that would be it, to be responsive to the residents and also the business community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Annette?
Yes, I think if there were anything would change or do differently, would probably be to get a more community-based or involved government, for example, involving seniors, youth, schools, anything. What I mean by that is even here tonight, if we could involve or try to get youth more involved in the political process, especially as they turn to seniors and are coming of age to be able to vote. But that's just things that I would do differently. But as I've said before, I agree Maple Grove is a great place to live, but there is always room for improvement, whether it's in your personal life, city, church, community, what have you. My top 3 priorities would be lowering individual property taxes as much as possible. Again, a more community-based government that will help with quality of life in all facets, schools, education, proper planning and development, especially with our economy turning for the better, and in turn, expansion and more development. I think that's more important than ever.
Thank you. And Mr. Stephenson?
I don't think there's a lot we'd do differently. I think that we've done a lot of great things in this community. What we need to do is we need to continue those great things, such as our budget. Over the last 3 years, our budget has averaged an increase of less than 2%, despite substantial growth that's larger than that. We continue to keep our taxes under control. That's important for our citizens. We continue to also need to structure our growth in the gravel mine area appropriately so we can bring in those new fantastic businesses that can bring new jobs to our community. That's important for our citizens. And then we also need to continue the development of our transportation system. Highway 610 has to be completed. I've been involved in working on Highway 610 for over 20 plus years. We're finally seeing the end of the road, but we need to get the final funding to get that done, such as the expansion on 494 for the third lane. We're finally getting that done. There's a lot of different roads that we need to continue to complete as we've done over the last 10 years.
Thank you. And Ms. Jaeger?
I would like to see more high-end retail and a community theater, most of all the completion of the 610, housing for all, a more conservative budget, and lowering of taxes. And we must be very selective of our future land use by smart planning.
Okay, thank you. And question number 4, how should the city address its aging population? What support should the city provide to our senior citizens? And we'll start with you again, Ms. Jaeger.
We have the mobile bus service. We have a senior citizen center that offers many, many activities. A new senior rental building that's going in. It's called Silvercrest. We have Main Street Senior Building. We have Arbor Lake Senior Buildings. We have walking trails. We have community, we have Central Park shortly. We have much medical, and we have a hospital. And of course, we have pickleball.
Okay. Mr. Lee?
Well, it is important to have a plan for the senior population because it is a growing segment of our city. We are doing quite a bit as a city here in Maple Grove. We have recently added more senior housing options with the Four Seasons at Rush Creek, Arbor Lake Senior Living, and the new Silver Creek on Main, which is moving forward quickly. We have excellent senior programming offered at our community center. Almost 800 different programs were offered last year, which included fitness, creative, educational, social, and recreational programs. Total participation in these programs was just under 50,000. There's a committee working with our staff and senior center, which will include community, faith, and business leaders to identify and address senior issues. And we also offer, apparently the hottest craze is pickleball. Everybody's asking me about it. We offer games going on every day of the week, and new courts are being planned. These are just a few examples, but I think it shows that we are addressing the needs of our senior residents.
Mr. Bedard?
And this is something that communities are facing across the United States right now currently. We certainly are taking steps where there's implementation of senior housing within the area, along with access to sidewalks. It's important that as we move forward with the public transportation, those who are aging may choose not to continue to drive any longer, so we want to make sure that we have public access of transportation en route to those areas. Also, moving forward, we want to look at all the different opportunities that are out there, have a centralized access point for people to obtain that information so they can see all the opportunities available to them. Some of the things that we are doing very well right now, we certainly have different facilities available, such as exercise facilities. I'd like to continue to see some preventative health care for them, as well as continuing to develop programs that provide education for healthy lifestyles.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Well, I think a community garden might be nice. I know a lot of the churches in the area, or a few, have community gardens, and I work in education, and I think it's nice to bring the seniors into the school and read to the students, and I would ask the seniors who live here what they are looking for. And I'm guessing they're living here because they enjoy living here, so I think there's a lot of opportunities here.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yes, I think, not only is our senior citizens a growing part of the population, but an important part of the population. I think it begins with an open dialogue with senior citizens, whether that's a liaison or a special council of senior citizens. For example, my grandparents lived out of the state, and I had a neighbor that I called Grandpa John, and he was almost more of a grandpa than my biological grandfather because of proximity and so forth. I still carry forward the things that he taught me, the things that I've learned, and valuable lessons to this day, even in preparing for today's forum. So While obviously there's concerns and issues with housing and so forth, I think quality of life issues are important for senior citizens as well. Another example would be able to bridge the gap, bring in some volunteers from high school to be able to say, hey, here's how you use an iPad or internet, because obviously that's going to help the whole community and everybody involved, and it would be good for the young, youth, as well as senior citizens as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Stephenson.
We have a number of different programs in this city already to help and deal with senior citizen issues and problems. But we also have a very active senior community. And as it was mentioned earlier, we have a lot of involvement in our current senior center programs. As mentioned, we have nearly 800 different programs throughout the year for seniors. And we need to continue to have those programs grow as the senior population grows. We're meeting or trying to meet their demands through a series of senior housing projects that have been approved in the city over the last 3 to 5 years. Those programs are continuing to be developed here in this city. And then most of them are actually in the downtown area, where hopefully, because of their immediacy to the downtown shopping area, it's a lot easier for the seniors to actually walk or travel. I think it's finally important to us to continue our dialogue and involvement with them. We have a senior community group that does that, and I think it's important for us to continue to hear from them so we can help the seniors in any way possible.
Thank you. Question number 5, and we'll start with you, Mr. Stephenson. Local businesses are taxpayers, but often not voting residents. In which way will you reach out to best understand their needs and provide for fair representation in City Council decision-making? Please share your thoughts.
Yes, I think it's important, and as mayor I've done this, which is to reach out to local businesses, to go and meet with the CEOs of the local businesses that are located here in town, to hear what their concerns are, to hear how it is that we as a community can interact with them to help their businesses grow, jobs in this community. That's one of the duties of a mayor, and I think that we've done that. We've done that successfully as we've seen our businesses grow here in town. I think it's important to be involved in the various community organizations that those type of businesses are involved in, and that's why I have historically been involved in the North Hennepin Chamber of Commerce. I'm one of the past presidents of the Chamber. I've been actively involved in the Chamber over the years because I think it's important, and it's a way that you can get to know and understand the issues that exist for those community corporations. And so I think it's important that you continue to do that as mayor, and I will continue to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
Well, I would say newsletters, website, Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, Lions. Our Mayor Stephenson, as he said, he visits these organizations with updates regularly, also by attending functions that include our city staff and our council. I was just at a chamber meeting today represented by business owners. We are open to all, and listen, come to our meetings.
Thank you. Mr. Leith.
Well, the best way to understand their needs is to be involved in the community with them. Being an active member of the North Hennepin Chamber of Commerce or other business organizations, attending as many local functions as you can. The mayor and Councilmember Jager mentioned other active civic groups, the Lions, Rotary. I've been in the Lions for 13 years. By being involved in attending these functions, you talk to the owners and find out what issues they are dealing with. Also, our city staff can be a great resource. I know the city administrator and several of our department managers meet with many of the business owners on a regular basis. So I will continue to be involved in the community and talking with these owners. When issues do arise, I will gather the facts, make decisions based on the facts, the ordinances, and treat them all as consistently and fairly as possible. I always have and always will continue to support local business.
Thank you. Mr. Bedard?
I think the best way to reach out to organizations, just as I've done reaching out to citizens, going door to door, is going to each business, sitting down with the owners of those businesses and speaking to them about their concerns and questions that they have, which I have done. Understanding that, and that's one way that we can reach out to them as an organization, city council. However, I think it's a good idea to create solutions that allow them to reach out to us as well. Some organizations have the chamber. I think it would be a great opportunity to do a collaboration with the chamber to hold either monthly or like an annual meeting solely for the purposes of businesses to understand any concerns or hindrances, things that they'd like to see addressed with the city to help them move forward with their organizations.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Okay, I was just thinking that the North Hennepin Chamber of Commerce office could be a little bit more visible. I've noticed when I visited a few other communities, like I was in Buffalo the other day, and they had a really, it was very visible right in downtown Buffalo. But I have attended different meetings with the Champs at what used to be a Champs, I guess, for breakfasts, and I think that I would be responsive to the business concerns, and I would listen and follow through with your concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yeah, I'll keep the answer to this one relatively short and sweet. I think the same way you would understand the needs of all the individual residents and citizens of Maple Grove through an open dialogue and figuring out what their needs, wants are, and the best way to try to accommodate that and balance that with the needs of the citizens and residents. But to be quite frank and honest with you, oftentimes it feels as though businesses are better represented with the council than certain individuals and so forth, just because of their power or whatever you want to use, representation and so forth. So again, I just think an open dialogue with the businesses, with all the individual citizens and residents related even to the business developments and moves would definitely be prudent. And that's how I would go forward in answering that question.
Thank you. And now we're to question number 6. And we'll go back to you, Mr. Annette. Do you support tax abatement policies to attract new business?
Well, this one is a little bit of a hard question for me to answer in a quick amount of time, but in general, I guess I would argue against property tax abatement for businesses. That said, there's always exceptions to every rule, but most economists' papers, scholarly articles I've read have stated that abatement actually doesn't really stimulate the economy or economic development in any differential way than say, other methods would. So the 3 main reasons I guess I'm against property tax abatement for the businesses is, one, it's unlikely, like I just said, that selective tax abatements are differentially effective from other methods of economic development. Number 2, it's contrary to the basic principles of the free market. And number 3, selective tax abatement can be overly political. It can be a gamble. You're really gambling on an entity that's not truly vested in the community in Maple Grove. And again, there's other ways, and studies have shown that a general tax cut for all is better for the economy.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
Tax abatements have a very limited function in Maple Grove. Tax abatements have a very limited function in city government, and we in Maple Grove have used them in a very limited way. But there are important times where tax abatement may be appropriate. It may be appropriate to bring a business to our community. A good example was the Great River Energy building. We provided a very small tax abatement, a 2-year tax abatement for that project. In exchange, we got a new business in town that has created hundreds of new jobs, well-paying jobs. A number of years ago, in a very limited way, we used a tax increment financing district to allow for Boston Scientific to locate one of their significant research facilities here in town. It was necessary to attract Boston Scientific to our community to do that. In exchange, we got 3,000 new high-paying med tech jobs. It's a very limited function where TIF is appropriate. We've seen other neighboring communities who've used it to a much greater extent, and that's not appropriate. But where it's appropriate and where it can provide our community great benefit, we as a community should do it.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
Well, I would say this would be case by case. If it will increase our tax base and bring in more jobs, its use cannot exceed 15 years, and then it must be added to our property tax levy. Currently, we have none in use, and yes, I would consider abatement for use in office or industrial, but I don't intend to give the city away.
Thank you. Mr. Leith?
Well, I do not favor using tax abatement as a tool to attract new business. It certainly is not widely used here. As the mayor said, there's only been one case in the history of Maple Grove, and that was Great River Energy, which did bring hundreds of jobs and a nice tax base now. If it is to be considered, you do have to look at it, each case individually. What's the size of the project? Who's the employer? Is it office, industrial? How many jobs is it going to bring? Is there future expansions? And what is the length? What is the cost you're giving up? So each project must be measured on its own merits. Some cases it may make sense. However, as you can see with our history, we've only done it once. So it's not widely used, and I myself will not be offering it to every new business potential.
Mr. Bedard.
I think tax abatement is a great marketing tool to use when you're first growing a community to bring businesses into the area. I would keep in mind, though, that I would say we are a growing community. We have 63,000+ residents here. And with that, I think that in some circumstances, tax abatement can be beneficial when you're referring to entrepreneurs and mom and pop shops that want to start in the area. Can allow them a competitive advantage against larger corporations in the area and provides us with a greater diversity of services here.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I would be in favor of tax abatement policies probably for up to 4 years if it did encourage job growth. And our mayor had mentioned that Great River Energy and Boston Scientific benefited from the tax abatement policy. It sounds like it would be something I would consider if the city and the mayor and other council members and business community were in support of that and the residents.
Thank you. And now we'll be moving to questions that have been submitted from the audience. And we'll go back to you, Ms. Johnson. What ideas do you have to increase non-retail business growth in Maple Grove?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that. So you're asking me what ideas do I have to encourage non-retail growth in Maple Grove?
Correct.
Well, there is a considerable amount of retail growth currently, and I'm not sure how to answer that. But I know there's a lot of talk about developing the gravel mining area, and we're talking about having a good community to reside in, and so I think that would be open for a study, asking the community what they'd like. Thank you.
Mr. Annette?
Yes, I think that there are creative ways, and one of the ways to do that is to exploit some of what's interesting or what's currently kind of an issue du jour, or however you want to put that, whether that be with local people gardening in their own home and so forth, obviously opening up other retail garden shops, whether it's music centers for the creative and music talent that we have in the high schools and so forth that we see. There's creative ways to bring in other businesses that could do well in Maple Grove.
Thank you. And Mr. Stephenson?
The principal area where we're going to see non-retail growth in this community over the next 20 years is in the gravel mining area. We need to continue to work with gravel mining owners. We need to continue to work with the businesses in the area. And so we know how to bring in new, exciting businesses to our community. That's a way that we can effectively work with businesses. We need to continue to get out and meet with the community business owners to see how we can help them expand their business and their opportunities. There's always growing business expanding opportunities in the city. We need to take advantage of that.
Ms. Jager?
Well, we have an economic development department that brings in more retail, whatever we need. Maple Grove right now, we don't have to advertise, they come to us. That's about it.
Okay. Mr. Leith?
Well, yes, and I do think that going after the non-retail focus is the way to go, especially for the gravel mining area. As the mayor mentioned, we have talked at great length about focusing on businesses for that area. The state legislature just approved that as a special taxing district, so we could help offset some of the costs of the infrastructure to go in there. And then just meeting with these business owners. And there are some programs too that we have helped turn some of these other people on some state and federal programs to help.
Thank you. Mr. Bedard?
I think that it would be important to reach out to those organizations that are looking to come to the area. One way, to do that is certainly get involved in neighboring communities, different expos. Also understanding why they would consider coming to there, why are the current businesses here, and understanding those reasons for them coming here besides tax abatements, as an example.
Thank you. And the next question will go back to you, Mr. Bedard. Given the most recent budget proposal, if you had to reassign a portion of the budget to another priority, where would you shift from and to?
To be honest with that question, the current budget as is, we'd have to look at what future projects are we going to be investing in. Right now we have a couple, mostly invested in different road opportunities, so I think that where we're at is a good place. I wouldn't change anything quite at the moment.
Ms. Johnson?
I'm sorry, but I don't know. I'm not a chief financial officer, so I would ask somebody who has a lot of authority in that area and get some information from people who know.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Annette?
Yeah, I think that one way without actually having the numbers in front of me would be to allocate money to community improvements, whether it's programs to, if somebody develops their home, resides their home in a community that's going to help the whole community in general as far as property values and so forth. I'd like to see some of those programs, and if there was any money available, shift it that way.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
Well, I think that we have spent as a council considerable time evaluating our budget, and we do that every year. And we've adjusted our budget appropriately. I don't think I would change anything. And I think it's important as you're running for office and as you're trying to be involved here that you understand our budget process and what our budget actually entails. And I think that given the size of our budget and what we do in our community, we have tremendous opportunities to continue to serve our community by being effective as a business organization in a city.
Ms. Jager?
Well, we have a big budget now, and it is very well tended to, taking almost everything. The only one thing that I'd like to see is that there would be a line item more for our lakes and our streams.
Thank you. Mr. Leith?
Well, the current budget that was set was a preliminary budget. The final one won't be until December. So and as part of that, in our work session, looking at the expenditures, we have been pretty good about not adding new positions over the years. We went several years without hiring new positions. There were several new positions asked for in the new budget. We've asked for a review on all the justifications for these positions, and I guess that would be determine, where we would cut and
Thank you.
which ones would be the most important.
Our next question will go back to you, Mr. Leith. Maple Grove has many opportunities for community service. What have your volunteer efforts been in our city?
Well, I guess aside from being on the council and all the city committees and county committees I've been on, the Maple Grove Lions Club is where I have been on. I've been on there 13 years. It's a great community. They do a lot for helping people with medical issues and glasses and hearing aids, and but there's also Rotary, and there's a lot of civic opportunities, and I think everyone should get involved somewhere, because that's the best way to really get a feel for what's going on in the community.
Thank you. Mr. Bedard?
I'd like to point out that I'm a member of the American Legion, so I try to be involved in any way possible with that. Also anything revolving around different cancers and ways that we can gain support through that. I currently try to involve myself through, whether it be Children's Cancer Research Fund or KS95.
And Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I work for Osseo Public Schools, and I have been a volunteer reading tutor. And I am a person who, if I see something needs fixing in the city, I don't hesitate to call the city and talk about something that needs fixing, like a road, a parking lot, or something. So.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yes, I'm involved in Salvation Army Toy Drive, Special Olympics, as well as doing pro bono legal work for local and area artists.
Thank you. And Mr. Stephenson?
I've been involved in a series of community organizations over the years. As I mentioned earlier, I've been involved heavily in the Chamber over the years, being a past president of the Chamber. I've been involved in various other community organizations, the various athletic organizations in this community. I've been actively involved in the Maple Brook Soccer Association, involved in the coaching program there, the Northwest Kickers Soccer Association historically, and importantly, my wife and I have been involved historically in a project called Project Off Streets, which is intended to help challenged teens get off the streets.
Thank you. And Ms. Jager?
I have been involved with Rotary and the Chamber and Salvation Army. Our council here, we ring bells for the Salvation Army at Christmas time. I've been a volunteer in the school programs and other things.
Thank you. And our next question. Due to recent droughts around the country and concern about water conservation, should Maple Grove implement a watering schedule? Why or why not? And we'll go back to you, Ms. Jager.
We have a lot of water here in Maple Grove. We're right over the aquifer, and I have asked our departments if we are ever going to have to ration water, and they said absolutely not. We sell our water.
Okay. And Mr. Leith?
No, I would, I agree with what Councilmember Jager said. I've spoke with our, Ken Ashfeld's our city engineer, public works director. I've asked him about the watering ban when we've had some periods of drought. He said we have plenty of water. We've never in the history of Maple Grove had a problem with something like that, and they don't foresee anything in the future. And like Councilmember Jager said, we are currently selling water to other communities, so I don't see that happening.
And Mr. Bedard?
I currently would not implement anything at this time. I would continue things as is.
And Ms. Johnson?
Well, I think that must be a concern to somebody out here in the audience, so I need to get more information about that, but it does seem like we have plenty of water. But I am a person who is concerned about water quality. I live near a pond that has a couple trumpeter swans in it with 6 cygnets, and so it's kind of neat to see that resource here. So I am concerned for water quality at least. So.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not a mechanic, so when I need something with my car, I go to a mechanic, and I'm not a surgeon, so if I need something operated on my body, I go to a doctor, and so I think I'd need to rely on the experts, and from what I'm hearing here, it sounds like we have plenty of water. With that being said, obviously you want to conserve the resources that you do have, so at this time I don't think that I would be in favor of any type of water scheduling.
And Mr. Stephenson?
In Maple Grove, I don't believe that a water schedule is necessary. As has been mentioned, we've designed our water schedule, our water system here in Maple Grove, so it's sufficient and capable to provide water on a regular basis, not only to our citizens, but to a number of the neighboring communities. And so given our current water ability, certainly there isn't a need for any type of water rationing.
Thank you. And next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Stephenson. Are you familiar with the Met Council's Thrive MSP 2040 vision? How do you think it will impact the city of Maple Grove?
I am familiar with the Thrive 2040 plan. In fact, I just have a letter that's being sent to the Met Council to comment about their plan. I think that the plan, in many respects, has some deficiencies that need to be addressed. Primarily, it has a considerable emphasis on transit to the exclusion of road expansion. And sadly, there isn't a transit expansion to occur in Maple Grove, and we need the expansion of the roads. So I think that that plan has some deficiencies that we're trying to address on behalf of our citizens, because out here we need the continued road growth.
Ms. Jager?
Well, I haven't heard all about what's happening. They're just going through it right now, the 2040. And there is going to be an open meeting for the public to put in input. That's all.
Okay. And Mr. Leith?
Yes, I am familiar with it. I've looked at parts of it, and I guess my biggest gripe is the same as the mayor's. I think the emphasis on transit really hurts us in this area, where we do need to work on the road development. So.
Thank you, Mr. Bedard.
I would have to agree with the past statements where I believe that there's areas where we need to focus more on road development, which is hindering us with the current proposal.
Ms. Johnson.
I'm not familiar with the 2040 plan, but I would attend Met Council meetings, and I'd like to find out more about the subject.
Thank you. And Mr. Annette?
Yes, I am familiar with the plan as well and with the Met Council and have dealt with the Met Council in various capacities before. Of course, being lucky enough to go last year, I echo the comments that were put forth earlier, that obviously roads, specifically with 610 and some of the other expansions, need to go forward.
Thank you. And our next question. What do you envision as the vote and future of the Citizens Advisory? And we'll start with Ms. Johnson.
Okay.
What was the question?
What do you envision as the vote and future of the Citizens Advisory Committee?
What? I don't think so.
I'm sorry, I'm misreading the, what do you envision as the role and future of the Citizens Advisory Committee?
Okay, yeah, that's an important role to have, and I'm guessing that the Citizens Advisory Committee is growing, and hopefully, as a community, we're seeking out input and listening to the residents, and I would work to expand that.
Thank you. Mr. Annette.
Yeah, and I think I've talked a little bit earlier about a community-based government, and I really feel strongly about that. And so I think more involvement or the role of that advisory committee is of the utmost importance. We hear a lot about businesses and zoning and planning development, and I think we need to hear more about people, residents.
Mr. Stephenson.
The Citizens Advisory Committee is a long-standing committee in this community. It used to be called the Citizens Long Range Improvement Committee. Certainly, they have done great work over the years in helping give advice to the council on what they believe or what they think about certain projects or ideas coming to our community. And I think as we go forward in time, they need to be able to be available to us to help us with those future decisions that we as a council have to make and help us make the right decisions for our city.
Thank you. Ms. Jager.
Well, as the mayor said, several years back, we used the CAC all the time to help us. We have had them do our surveys. We've had them do the cigarette problem. And right now, the CAC they only have a meeting every 3 months because there isn't that much going on right now.
Thank you. Mr. Leith?
Well, I'm very familiar with the committee. I started out on the Citizens Long Range Improvement Committee where I was co-chair. It is a valuable committee because it is a group of 15 to 20, 25 residents from different parts of the city that get together and talk about issues going on in their neighborhood, and we do need to hear about this. They have done some good projects for us. They did a lot of work on the second sheet of ice and the sports dome projects for us. And as more things come up, they're definitely, we will be using them.
Thank you. And Mr. Bedard?
I think they're going to be a great sounding board for the council to bring challenges, opinions, questions forward from the citizens of the community. It's just another group that is able to reach out to the area and understand the needs of the residents. They're residents themselves, so they're on the front lines hearing what themselves and neighbors are currently saying.
Thank you. And the next question will start with you, Mr. Bedard. In addition to the open forum at each city council meeting, what else would you do to encourage citizen involvement to help make your decisions representative of the people of Maple Grove?
Well, I think, open forum is the main way that we currently do that, and typical of really any city at this point. You know, going forward, there's different things that we can certainly do technology-wise, as far as increasing different chat experiences via online that bring people from the outer areas that are watching it online or via their TVs to be able to shoot those questions into the area so that their voices are heard as well.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I agree that the open forum process is important, and it would be helpful to have online chatting.
And Mr. Annette?
Yes, I think it's very important, the open forum. Again, I keep going back to the people aspect of the community. As far as even with Cable 12, you can go back and you can watch past city council meetings, other meetings revolving around the local government. If there were a way to set up a forum or anything using the technology so that people who can't make it, whether they're elderly or just unable to make it to the meetings, are able to get their voices heard. Again, people.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
I think that the historical open forum has been developed during my tenure as mayor and with a number of the other council members' input so that we make sure that we have had that open forum available for our citizens to express themselves at each city council meeting. We need to continue to make ourselves available as the representatives of the citizens, whether it's through our availability online, our availability through our simple phone calls at home and responding to calls and inquiries. We need to continue that aspect for our citizens.
Thank you. And Ms. Jager?
Mayor Stephenson does a show on the community on cable. Al Matson, he does the same thing. Social networking would be good. Open forum, we have at every council meeting. And of course, our telephone.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Well, I agree with everyone on the open forum. It's the perfect way for people to come and talk about their issues. Just at our last council meeting, a gentleman showed up and mentioned a problem with a trail in Maple Grove, and I talked to the park board, and the next day they were out there looking at it and called this guy back, and he was amazed at how fast they called him back and are going to work on the problem. But if you can't make the open forum, you can email us, you can call us. I have returned every phone call and email since I've been on the council.
Thank you. And next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Lee. What was your biggest motivation to run for office?
I guess I just personally have always liked to be involved in my community I live in and to try to do the best and the most I can for that community. Maybe it started, my father was in the military in World War II, and I was not in there, so I was always looking for a way to serve my community, and I guess that's how I did it.
Mr. Bedard.
I've also feel that, giving back to the community is important. I've had the opportunity to have a lot of blessed things come to me from citizens of communities, so I feel that it's also important to give back from that.
Ms. Johnson?
I've had an interest in public service ever since I was a little girl, and I've always been involved in community projects. And I hope to continue living here for a long while, so I like being involved.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yeah, again, I'm vested in the community. I've lived here for over 30 years. I've chosen to raise my family and live here, and I just think that it's important that the community maintain its growth, its strength, and keep being the great community that it is.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
Historically, I've always been involved in our community. I've always thought it's important to be involved in our community, and my desire to wanting to help and to serve the community would propel me to run for office originally. And I think it's important, one of the other reasons I ran originally was there was an event that happened in Maple Grove that it seemed like the council wasn't listening to the citizens. And I thought it was important that the council did listen to the citizens, and that was one of the motivating factors I had at that time for running for office.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
Well, after my husband and I sold our business and we retired and traveled and our children were gone, I wanted to get involved. And what started me was affordable housing. That was part of it. And I certainly have been involved with this city since I've been on the city council.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll start with you again, Ms. Jager. Are you more likely to support additional government spending on improving the quality of life in Maple Grove, or would you rather see reduced taxes for residents?
Say it again.
Are you more likely to support additional government spending on improving the quality of life in Maple Grove, or would you rather see reduced taxes for residents?
Yes. We have a good quality of life here in Maple Grove right now.
Okay, Mr. Lee?
Well, I always support reduced taxes first. We've done a good job over the years with our budget and trying to keep it as lean as possible. And we do have a lot of nice amenities now. And a lot of these amenities have been planned for years. Like when the town green was built, that was built for money that was planned for many years. So it did not come out of the taxes. So if there is a way to reduce taxes, I would certainly like to look at that.
Mr. Bedard?
Certainly reducing taxes, if we can put those dollars that we save back into the taxpayers' hands, they can choose themselves to help improve their quality of life. I think that's more beneficial to themselves as a whole.
Ms. Johnson?
Well, considering that Maple Grove does have a good quality of life here, I am in favor also of reducing taxes. I'm a homeowner. I've lived here as a homeowner for 23 years. But I do enjoy the amenities here in Maple Grove, and I think most people who live here do. I think Town Green is fabulous. And
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yeah, I think it's possible to add quality of life components and yet still reduce property taxes if you can get creative in certain ways. For example, with some of the areas with the TIF legislation and so forth, the tax incremental financing. There's ways to increase quality of life and in turn build economic development and quality of life for the citizens of Maple Grove.
Mr. Stephenson?
I think generally it's important to reduce the taxes, to limit tax increases, and that's what we've done as a city council historically. We have a measurement that we use every year that shows that house values have increased substantially faster than the taxes have in this community over the last 10, 15 years, and I think that's important to continue. Certainly we as a community have seen a considerable growth in our quality of life while at the same time limiting those taxes or reducing taxes. And that's what I pledge to continue to do.
Thank you. Next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Stephenson. Maple Grove has grown significantly. We have had an at-large electorate to date. What are your views on changing to a ward system for city council elections and why?
I think that the current system needs to certainly stay in place for a number of more years as we continue to grow as a city. We have substantial growth that has yet to occur. And I think that historically, one of the things that we've seen for our city and why our city has grown so well is that all the council members have been responsible for all the parts of the community. And that means that there isn't parochial interests that dominate a city council. I've seen that in neighboring communities where parochial interests have dominated a city council and it's destroyed their ability to see a good and natural growth for the city.
Thank you. Ms. Jager?
Well, personally, I would rather have 5 people on my side rather than just one person to have the whole city council. I guess was it wards you were talking about?
Right.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Leith?
I also like the system, well, the way it is for now. I think if you're going to look at ward systems, we're anticipated to build another 15,000 to 20,000 residents before we're completely built out. So it would make the most sense to wait until we're built out or close to being built out to divide the city into wards. And then if we do look at it at that point, I would prefer a system where you have maybe 4 wards and you still have 2 council members at large and a mayor at large, so you always have the best interest of the city represented.
And Mr. Bedard?
I certainly believe that an at-large helps ensure that the benefits of the community as a whole are representative instead of certain areas that may dominate. So I'd like to continue to see it as is at this time.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I don't think it will change. I think that if I had a major concern, it'd be nice to have the ears and eyes of all the council and the mayor. And I think it's working well, but I think that the at-large system probably does give the incumbents an advantage. It's difficult to campaign in a community this large, especially if you'd like to go door to door to every home. So,
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yeah, I'd echo that. It'd be a lot easier to go, say, 6 square miles than 36 square miles when you're campaigning, but I do love the system that we currently have in Maple Grove. I'm not a fan of the ward system or becoming a chartered city. I think that goes against the idea of community and community-based government. For example, it just breeds political horse trading between the wards, and again, becomes a little bit too much of a political process when all the residents of Maple Grove should have input on all the issues.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll go back to you, Mr. Annette. Do you support any reduction in the budget for parks and trails? Why or why not?
It would depend on the circumstances, and the reason I say that is what the reduction would be used for, or where money would be allocated and shifted to, and so forth. The reason I say that is because I think we have strong parks, recreation, and trails as it is, so if there were other vital needs, whether it's concerns for elderly citizens that can't take care of themselves or can't utilize county programs and so forth. So I guess it would be a case-by-case basis, but I feel that one of the strengths that we have right now is obviously our parks and trails.
Thank you, Mr. Stephenson.
I don't think so at this point in time. Our parks and trails system is one of the highlights of our community. We need to remain focused on that and make sure that we ensure that our parks and trails system remain a highlight for our community. We certainly have more parks and trails than most other communities, and it's the reason why people love living here, is because you have those access to parks and trails so you can do the recreational activities with your families that you want to do.
Thank you. Ms. Jager.
Our parks and trails are really great the way they are. Our park department keeps them up very, very good. Also, part of our trails are from Three Rivers Parks, too.
Mr. Leith?
A lot of the money that goes to build these parks or keep them going comes from something called park dedication fees. Whenever we approve a new development, when the development goes in, there's park dedication fees that are assessed that goes into account to help fund some of these things. So that being said, if there is you'd have to look at which case, a case basis. If there is a reason for a reduction, what is the reduction for? What is it? What do we need? Where else do we need the money to go? And have to look at it that way.
Mr. Bedard?
I would agree that I think it would determine on what some of the reductions that are being proposed are. I come from the Brainerd Lakes area, so I understand the importance of outdoor activities and drawing people to the area. With that, I would say that we need to currently keep the budget as is. That's what attracts individuals to the area and want to remain in this area.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I'm an avid user of the parks and trails. I cross-country ski and I bike with my family, and I would, hope to see that the trails continue to be well maintained. And I think people are moving here in part because of the beauty of the community and the good schools.
And we don't have any more audience questions. Is there any more audience questions? No? Okay. So we're to our closing question. In summary, how do you intend to best serve the city and move it forward? And we'll start with you, Ms. Johnson.
Okay, well, I am a candidate, so I have always continued to be involved in Maple Grove. I've watched Maple Grove develop. My parents had a hobby farm here, and you know, and when I thought it'd be nice to see flowers in the boulevards, I called the city and said so, and I would be responsive to the residents of the community if I were to become elected, and I would do my homework and follow up. And I'm responsible with a budget, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Annette?
Yes, as I've said a few times throughout this forum, having lived here as long as I have and growing up here and intending to raise my family, I believe in Maple Grove. I'm truly vested in the community and want what's best for everybody. You know, I've seen vast changes in the 30-plus years, from agricultural lands turned into housing developments, retail space, schools. I was in the first ever 7th grade class at Maple Grove Junior High. I was bussed out to New Hope when we didn't have elementary schools and went to Winnetka Elementary School under District 279. Graduated from Osseo High School before Maple Grove Senior High was even built. So I've seen a lot of changes going on here. What I want to do is give a fresh outlook to Maple Grove, and again, as I've said earlier, proper planning with our economy turning is more important than ever right now. I want to keep Maple Grove's AAA bond rating and make Maple Grove the premier city in not only the state, but as we've seen by the national coverage in the country. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
It's been my pleasure over the last 14 years to be your mayor, and I greatly appreciate your support over those years. I intend to continue to be financially responsible for the citizens of Maple Grove. We're going to continue to maintain our AAA bond rating, a rating that was been achieved under my leadership. We're going to continue to be fiscally responsible, and yet at the same time, we're going to be responsive to our citizens. We're going to bring new development to our communities. One of the things that we brought to our community through a lot of hard work over the last few years was our new hospital. Here's a hospital that we brought to our community that now there have been 15,000 new children born here in our community that otherwise would have been born elsewhere, and people would have certainly been inconvenienced in their lives. And it's those type of developments, those type of projects that I promise to continue to bring to this city. Finally, tonight I want to thank you for your support, for your encouragement, and I have asked for your continued support. Thank you very much.
Ms. Jager?
The City Council must be sensitive to the needs of all its citizens to make positive things happen within our community. I will work with the citizens, the mayor, the council, commissions, and staff as I have in the last 15 years to help guide our growth and development that is acceptable to our community. We need honesty and integrity along with hardworking council members that I will bring to the city when reelected. I will again work for the young, the elderly, and the business people. This includes housing for all, businesses that would generate a good tax base, and skilled police and fire departments. I will continue to be a committed worker for all the people of the city of Maple Grove. Thank you for inviting me to this forum.
Thank you. And Mr. Lee?
Well, I will best serve Maple Grove in several ways. Over the years, I have built relationships with many local, county, state, and federal officials, which can be very helpful, as many times you have to work across governmental jurisdictions to get things done. Public safety will always be a priority. Our police, fire, and other emergency personnel must have adequate funding and resources to do their jobs effectively. On development issues, wise choices must be made now in both new and redevelopment projects, because decisions made today will determine what the city will look like for decades to come. Tough spending decisions must continue to be made with the growing city. I will continue to return all the phone calls and emails I receive to help the residents and business owners to the best of my ability. I will continue to meet with city staff on a regular basis to stay on top of the issues and how to best resolve them. I'll continue to be involved in my current civic and faith leadership roles to serve and to stay in touch. Thank you for watching tonight. My name is Phil Leith. I ask for your support and vote on November 4th.
I plan to make the best overall positive decision for the citizens of this community. This includes ensuring with my background that the taxpayers' dollars are invested responsibly. I'm here to listen to the concerns, questions, and issues of citizens and business owners alike. And I plan to continue to invest my time to ensure that this is a community where people feel that they have the opportunity to work and live. I appreciate your support come November 4th.
Thank you, and that concludes the questions for tonight's forum. Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters in the North Hennepin Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank the candidates for agreeing to participate in tonight's forum. I would also like to thank the voters for attending and participating by submitting excellent questions. And I would like to thank the viewing audience as well. Remember that if we could not get to your question tonight, or if you have any further questions for the candidates, we invite you to contact them directly with your concerns. Please remember to get out and vote on November 4th, as your vote truly counts. Thank you and have a great evening. The next forum will begin at 8:15.